Hey, what's up there?
Welcome to Gab and Jam.
Gab and Jam number 52.
That's right, yes.
Anyway, I was just trying to make a slight little point about our subject today. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Well, we kind of rephrased the topic, but the topics it seems like it's pretty current right now. Have whites appropriated minority culture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the whole thing comes to this issue of appropriation, and it seems that we've become very highly sensitive to that.
Yes.
And I don't even know if it's just whites, and maybe to some extent it is blacks getting a little bit more, or African Americans getting a little bit more highly sensitive to it, because I heard the other day that people were accusing Bruno Mars of appropriating, misappropriating black culture.
But isn't he black?
I don't know about all of that. All I know is
he's from Hawaii,
but whatever.
Okay.
Once you start saying that, then that to me starts getting to a point where I gotta say, whoa, wait a second. So, let's kind of go back a little bit.
Okay.
Let's stick on the African American side. Let's stick with music. Okay?
Well, I did, because you said minority, and that actually made sense to some extent because of Gwen Stafani. I had included her in there, but we'll go back to that.
But she's the same thing. So,
yeah.
So it kind of all goes to the same thing. Once again. So meaning that if we think about music specifically, and we think about forms of popular music within, American culture.
Yes.
It is hard to escape the imprint of African Americans on that, and the fact that each form of music, to some extent, or a great extent, I should say, African Americans were at the creation of it, and at the heart of it.
Right.
And so, understanding that part of it, the issue with appropriation, I think, has always been there. Whether it was from, people like Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, Benny Goodman being called jazz, and Benny Goodman being called the king of swing, Elvis Presley being called the king of rock. You've had these issues of, white appropriation of a music, and I guess being more profitable off of that music than blacks have. And even to some extent, I think people see that with hip hop, the blacks make the music, but the whites are the ones who run the companies that put it out and all the rest of this type of stuff. And so the issue now becomes, to the extent that you have white artists such as Eminem and, Vanilla Ice before him.
Way back.
People like that. To that extent, or even with R&B, we can go all the way back to the Osmond Brothers, to New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
So many NSYNC, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
Appropriating R&B. To what extent is it wrong for whites to appropriate this music and kind of make it their own?
Okay.
And so, the other day I was listening to Terry Lewis interviewing Clive Davis.
Okay.
And he started off by saying that he felt like music was, and this might be sounding super deep, but he felt like music itself is something spiritual.
So about Clive Davis?
No.
Oh, Terry Lewis.
Jimmy Jam.
Jimmy Jam.
Did I say Terry Lewis? I might have said Terry. I meant Jimmy Jam.
Okay. All right.
So Jimmy Jam said that it was something spiritual, and that really kind of hit me.
Okay.
Because it is. I mean, music is one of those type of things that takes you to a moment in time when you hear it. So it's like a time machine. It's definitely something that is transcendent, and I think that's the problem that, as African Americans, that we have. We're trying to say that other cultures don't have a right to, I guess, claim and use it and be a part of it, because it is spiritual. It's something that's greater than, we make the music, but the music is greater than us.
It always is, right? It has another life once you release it. Yeah.
It does. It has a life of its own, and it would. it would diminish the power of the music if you start saying, "Oh no, you can't use it," or "You can't, you can't do this with it," or "You can't do." I mean, because of black music, we had the Beatles. Because of black music, we had the Rolling Stones. Because of what black folks did, all those artists. Now it's great when those artists acknowledge that. Because of that, we have Sting and the Police. With the Jamaican stuff and all the rest of that kind of thing. So, but these artists are very important, and they brought their own thing to it. So I think a lot of it has to deal with education. That African Americans have to appreciate the music that you make, and you have to continue to make it. And so sometimes there's like jazz and some of the other art forms, rock and roll, things that blues that black started. There aren't a lot of black artists doing it.
We were just watching the Mavis Staples special.
Right.
And, her entire band are Caucasians, but because they actually love the music, and they were supporting her and trying to come back.
Right. So. And I think that's the same thing with Bruno Mars. More power to him. Yeah. I mean, nobody, I'm not seeing a plethora of black artists out there doing funk and old New Jack Swing. I'm just not seeing it. Yeah. I mean, it's not out there. But here is, Bruno Mars, and he's out there doing it. I'm not seeing an overwhelming amount of artists who dance and entertain the way that he does. And once again, he's bringing all that stuff to the forefront. So I say more power to him. Yeah. Do it. I mean, Childish Gambino. Looked at a behind the scenes thing with his one single that he had, Redbone. Okay. And the producer, the guy who did most of the music, he's white. So once again, I mean, there's this collaboration that's taking place, and you get to see that the music is deeper than that. So I'm always surprised at the amount of white people out there that know a lot of the R&B that I grew up with in the 70s. Yeah. And know it very well. Yeah. And that's always surprising to me. And I can hear how it influences them. So I don't have an issue with that. Yeah. And so I think we need to stop beating that bandwagon.
I was gonna say, because and even minority culture in general, and I don't know if Harajuku is minority, I guess it's a niche. Right. But with Gwen Stafani, I know people had problems with her doing, she did her hip hop, but then she also was doing the Harajuku, the Japanese culture. Right. And I would have never heard about it. So she was an ambassador, as far as I'm concerned. So in some ways, I feel like people like Pat Boone, who did, what did he do? Tutti Frutti. Yeah. And so, of course, that would be my favorite version. But I'm sure it opened the door so that another group of people could be exposed to something that they wouldn't have heard before.
Right, and a lot of times that stuff kind of shakes itself out. I mean, it's sort of like, nobody is sitting around trying to find the Pat Boone version of Tutti Frutti. I mean, everybody wants to hear what Little Richard did to it. I mean, and there's so many other artists, whether it's Sam Cooke, and you start hearing his influence, or like a lot of people are now starting to even give the Ozzy Brothers their props for all the stuff that they did. I mean, a lot of people give Prince a lot of credit for fusing rock and funk together, and it's like, no, it's like that was done like long time ago. I mean, that stuff was starting to happen. Definitely was starting to happen with Sly. I mean, it was definitely happening with the Funkadelic. Ohio Players was doing that. A lot of those groups that were around during that period of time were fusing rock and funk together. So that is not something that's unusual.
The Prince invented, right?
But no, I mean, shoot, Stanley Clarke School Days did the same song. I mean, it starts off as a rock song, then he goes funky. I mean, and that's what he does. So, but that's 76. Yeah. So that stuff been there for a long time. People kind of fusing those things together. But I think kind of knowing your history from the African American side of it helps you to understand how to keep that part of your culture fresh, and you got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You gotta infuse what you have to it. Like there are a couple of those jazz artists that are out there who are fusing hip hop and jazz together.
Yeah.
So
and that's why I say also empower yourselves. I guess that's my message. That's what resonates with me is get out there and do it. Don't wait for somebody to discover you, you know, for them to put money behind you to show that, you know, that they're supporting whatever your genre of music is that you think is dying out. Get out there and do it.
Right.
You be the one. You be the champion for your own music.
Right.
For whatever it is. If, you know, we got Rihanna and Giddens that's doing
Giddens that's doing like the bluegrass
with the banjo.
Yeah.
So get out there, do it. You do it. You be the one that even if nobody else is doing it, you're the one that's doing it, and that will help keep that music alive.
Right.
If you believe in it and you love it,
right.
Don't wait for permission or, you know, for somebody else to knight you now queen of whatever, or king of whatever. You go out there and do it.
Right. I mean, it took Flea. Like, for instance, we started off, I was playing a little bit of Stevie Wonder's Higher Ground. But, you know, that's not the way that Stevie did it.
Right.
And so, you know, I'd always thought about that as kind of like a bass synth song. And it took Flea and the Red Hot Chili Peppers to make me reimagine it. Now, I mean, later Marcus Miller did a version. And I think the way I play it is kind of like a mix between Flea's version and Marcus's version. But still, it's sort of like... it took them, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, being produced by George Clinton.
Right.
And again, these are the types of things that happen. I was like, even with hip hop, Rick Rubin, you know, who's white, was a big part of those Run DMC records, producing those records.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, y'all. I mean, white folks, black folks, you know, we've been doing all this stuff together a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
so let's not split just because the country is starting to split on all kinds of other issues.
Or let's not act like hip hop is just a black thing.
Yeah.
That it just belongs to black people, because it doesn't. And understand that if it does, it diminishes the music. The music is more powerful than that. The music is universal. It is spiritual. You are releasing something out there. You know, these songs are coming to you and they're being released. You know, and you're the vehicle by which they're coming through. And don't get me wrong, we put our stank on it. We do. You know, I mean, ain't no doubt about it. You know, look, black folks, don't worry about that.
Right.
You know, you got your own stank. Yeah. You know what I mean? You bring your own stuff. You know, and that's just it. That's right. You do. Yeah, you got yours. You know, so don't worry about it. Yeah. Don't ever worry about that.
Don't stress about that.
Right.
All right, but we want to know what you think, because maybe you have a completely different point of view. Maybe you can shed some light on why you feel the way you feel, and maybe you can change our minds. Yeah. Who knows? So please drop your response, your reaction in the comments below, because we would love this to be a two-way, a back and forth.
We're looking to maximize our time and experience at South by Southwest.
And if you want a spot at the meetup, make sure, you should already be there, right?
Yeah.
So also Friends and Family Week, April 1st through April 6th for both our Facebook groups. The person who invites the most people wins a prize in both groups. One group is for people who enjoy all varieties of music like we do around here, and that is the Funky Happy People group on Facebook. And the second group is the Be the Next DIY Rockstar, which is helping you up level and fellowship with other people who are trying to live a more creative life and get their products heard and listened to and distributed. And I think that's it, but that's a lot.
That's a whole lot.
Okay. Until next we meet, here's wishing you love, peace, and
chicken grease.
And and if you dig the vibe, make sure you
subscribe.
Oh, there we go.
All right. There you go.